It's the Craggy Rugby Podcast. I'm Rob Murphy. Thomond Park looking splendid. And do you know why Thomond Park was looking splendid this evening? Because there was fans back. The mighty Munster fans making plenty of noise at the end, although it was probably the most muted celebration in the history of this beautiful stadium when Munster beaten Connacht, because they knew, in fairness to them, they're smart rugby people down here, that they got out of jail a little bit in that one. William Davis, how are you?
Yeah, I'm still trying to take that one in. Yeah, they did get out of jail. Connacht invited them in to the jail, and Munster bust their way out through the door. They score a try, they kick a conversion, and then they fail to get. They just fail to gather that kick off, and Munster just camped there. They've done it. How many times have they done it? They've done it to every team on the planet, given an opportunity, and they seized it, and they even managed to run the clock down. So when the game kicked off again, there was not enough time for Connacht to do anything. Absolute sickener. Connacht played well at times. Very, what have I called them before? The only thing predictable about them is they're unpredictable. I don't know, where does that performance come after the shambles of last week? And then you see the Dragons, their fans will be saying the same thing, because they came to Connacht and won, and then last night they fell over and were beaten by 14 points by the Stormers. A week is a long time in sport, but Connacht will have to chew on that performance, chew on the result, and then park it and use whatever sense of grievance they have next Saturday against Ulster.
Right, so much to unpack. So much. It's like that phrase has never been more appropriate on the podcast. 20 points to 18. And that's only the starting point. I'm going to suggest this, as tradition. We have so much to talk about here. Referees, people giving out about decisions, the turnaround in fortune, good performances, bad performances. Not too many bad performances from Connacht, but bad mistakes for sure. Let's start with the post-game press conference, where Andy Friend, well, I'm going to say he was stewing. Also, you're going to hear from Tiernan or Halloran. Andy, to begin with, it looks like restarts have cost Connacht again. I know it's starting on a key point in the game, but let's start there. 2 tries, just not securing the restart really cost Connacht.
Yeah, there was. I hadn't reviewed it, Rob, but yeah, we did struggle in that area again. Listen, I thought take away that, but. There's always margins in games, and then there's always things that are good and things that we need to work on. I just thought our 80-minute effort, I thought it was fantastic. We didn't get the win, which is really frustrating. But listen, we'll have a look. There's always bits, Rob, but I think it's too early at the moment to be pointing the finger at the restart. Was the area that cost us.
Yeah, it's funny because obviously we were saying the turnaround is brilliant from Connacht. It sets a tone. Anyone watching that game is going to come away from it realising that Connacht have stood up and done superbly well in this fixture. But obviously you're gutted to let it slip.
Yeah, it hurts. It hurts to lose a game like that. I mean, I thought we were the better team on the night, but the scoreboard doesn't tell you that. I just said there when I was interviewed after the game, we asked for consistency in this game. I didn't think we got it tonight. Tiernan knocks a ball on it for Mac Hansen's try. Now, it is a knock-on, but, there's a lot of time spent on that, and the correct decision was made. The ball went forward off the hand. So you say, fair enough. That's what we're meant to be doing as officials. We're meant to be making sure that we get clean and accurate scores. I thought the yellow card of Sammy Arnold was a very harsh call. I then thought, I know that when Joey Carey puts the crossfield kick in, you got Ty Byrne offside, but it doesn't get looked at. It doesn't get poured over in the same manner. So they end up getting 7 points for that. At the end of the day, they win by 2 points. So I am frustrated and I'm annoyed with that.
Do you think there's a certain element of refereeing that takes the preconceived notions of who the better side is? Do you think Connacht get a raw deal in these games?
Oh, listen, I'll let others decide that. All I know is, mate, we very rarely end up on the right side. And if there's a 50-50, it very rarely goes our side. So listen, that's something we've got to continue to work with and make sure that we're we're putting ourselves in the best position. I was just really proud of our blokes tonight. I thought they fought really hard to a man, and to walk away here with only 1 point, it's hard.
Jack Carty, I mean, you're going to be asked by, I'd say, a lot of the national media about him in particular now, because with all the different toing and froing and who's going to get selected for Ireland, has he put his hand up tonight?
Totally, 100% he has. I think he's done it, more than just tonight. I think he's had some brilliant games this year, and there's a few other boys who've done that as well. So, listen, we'll keep these blokes will keep putting their best foot forward, and it's up for others to acknowledge that and to see the energy that they're playing with and the skill that they're playing with, and hopefully again, we get a fair representation in the national team.
I was going to ask you a little bit, just quickly to finish, about just a lot of individual really standout performances. I know you collectively, you will suggest it, but Matthew Burke probably played the longest amount of minutes he's played in the Connacht shirt. Conor Oliver seems to be in the form of his life. These are really encouraging things. Sammy Arnold off the bench last week, and then today, you must be picking out a few as well in your own mind. Yeah,
I thought Heffernan, Beelum. It's hard to single them out, mate. 2 nines were there tonight. Our backfield are playing great football. Like there's just I just feel like we've got players who are giving their all there, and as you're seeing, there's a lot of ability, a lot of talent. We were all really frustrated with that game last week. And the message is there. I don't ever want to talk about Dragons again, and I don't ever want to see a performance like that again. And we all acknowledge that. We all weren't at our best. So that's now parked. That performance there tonight, it didn't get the win, unfortunately, but if we keep delivering that, we will get plenty of wins.
All right, Tiernan, Andy kind of just stole my last question from me for him because he's answered it there, but just from your own perspective, that contrast is something that does have people scratching their heads. Tonight's performance probably would have won in Cardiff, let alone beating the Dragons.
Yeah, I can see why a lot of people get frustrated watching it. Obviously, it's not something that we're purposely doing, like getting comfortable in any way at all. It's on us to take responsibility as players and take ownership of what we're doing throughout the week. And I think that's what we really broke it down to this week, is the small little details of everything that we're doing during the week, and can we be on top of that? And I think going forward, like we prepared all week and like training was this week, the intensity in it, like we need to do that every week now, and there's no excuse for it. So again, I think like the coaches and everybody put us in the best position possible to perform on the weekend. But again, it's on us to take responsibility as players. And I think the Cardiff week, again, come off a great win against Bulls and then put out the performance that we did against Dragons, like it's not good enough from us as players. So again, we've taken responsibility. We've had our chats. We've had lots of chats over this past week about what went wrong. We parked the Dragons game pretty early and we focused all our energy on Munster. And it's pretty, after working so hard all week and coming up just like short like we did tonight, it's frustrating, but at the same time, we know what the marker is now and we have to just kick on from that.
Tiernan, the performance was brilliant, but are you already picking out some moments, like I was suggesting restarts, that you're going to be really frustrated with? Because ultimately you must be very disappointed not to have won this one.
Yeah, like there's massive disappointment, massive frustration in the room as well. Like it's an Interpro game. It's like most games come down to small moments and small margins, and that's exactly what happened tonight. It was just a few little small things, 50-50 things that just didn't go for us, and that's what win games. And yeah, like you said, the restart at the end there where we got held up and was called a maul. There's a few other small little things that just didn't go our way. So it's frustrating, but look, that's rugby. There's always going to be 50-50 calls. Sometimes they go your way, sometimes they don't. It's just about doing whatever we can to make sure that we get the right bounce of the ball there and control what we can control.
Connacht fans have been following your own career for a long time, Tiernan, and like this is 4 starts in a row for you. You're going to the Aviva Stadium and you're probably going to work hard and hope that you're going to get your position again. How do you feel personally right now about where your rugby is?
I suppose it's a process for me at the moment as well. It's been a frustrating, I suppose, year and a half for me personally, with injury and then when I did get back playing, I wasn't playing that well. It was just frustrating. It was hard to get back, but thankfully, I worked hard this preseason. I kind of worked with the medical staff and figured out what we needed to get right from an S&C point of view, and thankfully that's kind of stood to me so far. So obviously it's great to be able to put some games together, but obviously we've got guys coming back now in the back 3 position as well, which is great for competition. So it's just important. I'm just happy to be back out playing rugby, enjoying it. I think I probably lost a bit of enjoyment over the past year or so, and I was trying to maybe force things at times. Whereas now I just trying to get, I suppose, that feel of enjoyment and play the way we always knew how to play rugby. So yeah, it's just about getting that back and look, helping out lads as well. A lot of young lads in our squad in that back three. So I'm trying to pass on, like you said, I've been here a long time. So about passing on that experience as well and helping out those lads and making the team better. So I'm just happy to be back involved in playing rugby, to be honest.
Last one for me, Tiernan. It's a big week for Connacht Rugby. First time they'll ever play in the new Aviva Stadium with a crowd. What does it mean to you as a group? And how much are you hoping that the Connacht fans will come out in big numbers?
Oh yeah, it's huge. Obviously, I think everyone was a bit surprised when the news was that was going to be a home game in Aviva Stadium. But I think the excitement's certainly been building the last few weeks now. Obviously, with the disappointment about tonight, we just got to dust ourselves off and put all our focus into that game now in the Aviva on Monday. And then I suppose it's just from a supporters' point of view, look, we know the Connacht fans love to travel. They always support us no matter where they go. Even tonight in such a big stadium with so many Munster fans, there was certainly times where you could easily hear them supporting us and getting behind us. So it's just huge. It's so, even for both teams to hear fans and supporters back in the stadium, it just gives both teams a lift, and it's such an encouragement. And hopefully, I think as a country, it just gives everyone a lift and moving forward as well. So again, look, next Saturday will be another great event for everybody, and hopefully everyone can enjoy it and just, you know, enjoy the spectacle that'll hopefully be on the day.
There was a lot there, and you know, no holding back. I kind of doubled back on Andy. Just wonder, is he picking up on this problem in the world of rugby sometimes, where you do get the impression at times that if Argentina are playing New Zealand, there's that kind of preconceived notions. I've used that phrase since day one of my rugby journalism that referees sometimes have. I don't know. We said on air. Well, let's get to that in a second. First things first, what's clear is Connacht management and the players are raging about the... Tyburn was in front of the kicker. And they feel that's one of a couple of decisions. The yellow card as well, which is an interesting one. They feel bad call.
Yeah, the yellow card at the time looked a bit odd to me, because to me it was a rugby incident. And the Munster player that took the contact was being tackled by Bundee Aki, and was essentially... Bundee was pulling at him and dragging and spinning him and doing whatever you have to stop him. So that changed the point of contact. Now they're going to say that Sammy Arnold went in high, but did he? Because the player, you know, it wasn't
tackling.
He wasn't.
It wasn't a high tackle.
It wasn't a tackle.
Collision. Now he spun around and his arm kind of came up around the shoulder, and you could say, is that a swinging arm? But they never spoke about that, and he didn't make contact with the head even in that situation.
Will his head make contact with it?
No, obviously. And I'm just saying, like, maybe he was in an attempt to be a double tackler, a second tackler, but it just looked like incidental contact, as they say.
Yeah, I think considering what we've seen this season, first of all, we're seeing better refereeing decisions about this type of rugby incident, and we're also seeing players tackling low because they know if they don't, they're going to get done. And
collisions are not what this was brought in about. Everyone wants to stop accidental collisions, but it's literally an accidental collision. What they were stopping is for a head contact where a guy's trying to make a tackle and he doesn't protect the defending player by going in recklessly high. In that case, two players collided, much like when Mac Hansen went up in the air and Peter Romani was in the air. Two players collided in the air. It shouldn't even been a penalty, in my opinion. It looked like they were getting this right in a lot of games, but not tonight.
I think it'll be, referees. The referee, you could talk to the referees' assessors and see how they would look at that. I go back to my point again. The Munster player Bundee Aki was tackling him and was pulling him and pushing him to the ground, which is that's what he's supposed to do. So therefore, how can Sammy Arnold react in that situation? I think it was a soft yellow, and it got Munster back into the game. They were 6-0 down, and suddenly they were 7-6 up at half time. They seized that opportunity. Of course, that try came from Tyburn. Tyburn was in front of the kicker. If he tried to do what he did, I doubt he'll ever do it again. He kicked it forward, and then he managed to kick it forward again, and it bounced and it rolled back towards Chris Clute, who was chasing it. If it had rolled the other way, Dave Heffernan would have fallen on it. So it was the strangest, weirdest...
Fluky try, you said in commentary, and you're right.
But it gave them the lead at half-time, and Joey Carberry kicked the conversion from that position on the field, and unfortunately a little while later on in the game Jack Carty missed his conversion from there. It's a small margins game when you lose by 2 points. I don't know what you do about the Tyburn thing, because if you're gonna the TMO should have looked at that. The TMO should have seen it. It's pretty clear. Again, does that happen to teams other than Connacht? Probably yes. And I don't think that's the reason they lost the game, but it's a frustrating point.
I think Andy Friend feels like it's the primary reason.
Well,
He's entitled to, I guess.
he is, and it's, he's fed up. He's come down here. He's seen. I think Connacht played well tonight, and Munster didn't. But they still won. And Connacht had an opportunity tonight to get a win here, a badly needed win in the overall context. Munster are now 4-0, Connacht are 1-3. I would look at the restarts issue. There was a restart after a Connacht try, which was a mistake, and I think there was a penalty kicked. There was a restart after a Connacht try, and again, right when you had 7 minutes to go, Connacht needed to win that restart and get the ball up the pitch, get rid of it. They didn't. They invited Munster into the 22, and there they stayed until they got the points to win the game. That's what they're good at. They didn't play well tonight. Munster's line-out didn't function. Connacht put enormous pressure on them. Connacht had to make a lot of tackles, and they did it very, very well. But it's just one of those games. But Connacht are beyond heroic losses. That's no use to them anymore. So they have to just take this one on the chin.
They won't at the moment. It doesn't look like they're going to, because they're frustrated and they're going to have to, obviously. Listen, there's a lot of people really angry about this. We're going to hear from Gerry Thornley in a bit. We just thought we'd put it to Gerry Thornley. He's been in both press conferences, the live one and the wider media one, where Connacht were frustrated beyond belief by some of the decisions. I just want to just counterbalance with this. One of my big fears about what we were a championship winning side in 2016. We were the best team in the competition. It was a glorious celebration. We want to establish ourselves as a proper quarter of everything that happens in provincial rugby. That's our dream. Do we want to win every year? No. Well, we'd love to, but we probably won't. We feel like we still have a bit of way to go at times in these last couple of years. We've just slipped down to fourth and comfortably fourth in the provincials. And if we're going to be serious about that, rugby requires a kind of a way of accepting realities and focusing on yourselves a little bit as well. I've no problem with Andy Friend doing what he's doing. He's like, say whatever he says. It's fantastic. His honesty is great and creates great content. And I think he fights the corner for his team, and that's fine. But I'm just really careful. We were getting a lot of messages into Galway Bay FM. People were just going to pin the whole game down to that offside. I'm not comfortable with that. Well, can I throw a few things? You've done the restarts, and we asked him about the restarts. They haven't analysed them yet. I think they were a big problem. Shane Delahunt, what a moment. Munster overthrowing the line. It kicks down. He gets a 50-22. Unbelievable. But then he misfires in the front of the line out. No offence, Shane. You had a great game, but that was a bad moment. I remember Jack Carty, who has had a game for the ages tonight and is working his way down. He didn't find the 5 metre touchline from a simple 22 kick. He found it 8 metres out, and we just didn't get the catch and drive right. Fine, minute details, but he'll probably look back on that goal. His missed conversion was a key point. We could have got a draw out of the game if he had got it. Jack Carty was immense. I'm not critiquing him. I'm just saying there's always stuff within your control in sport. It's really important to me, this. And a lot of sports just lose the run of themselves about officials at times and place a whole game on bad officiating. Bad officiating tonight was in evidence, no question. But Connacht made enough mistakes that they can blame themselves.
Yeah, and I think they will. I think they're, people will say we're very hard on them, but we're not as hard on Connacht as Connacht are on themselves. And they will have to look at that misfiring line out there. That was another scoring opportunity. When you get into that 22, you hit your line out. They didn't. Just small things, and that's what they've talked about repeatedly, that they have to fix them. But I don't think you can handle it on the officiating. That's my view. I have to look at the game as objectively as I can, and I have to look and see what they did well and what they didn't do well. They did some things really, really well, and Jack Carty had an immense game. Cian Prendergast was having a huge game until he went off injured, and that looks a nasty looking knock.
Yeah.
And it's things like that they have to. But the reality is Munster are 4-0, Connacht are 1-3. And next week's game now takes on added significance. They'll have to play as well again. In fact, they'll have to play a bit better, because I think you have to say that Ulster are going to play better than Munster did tonight. And one of the reasons Munster didn't play well tonight was because Connacht were at them.
Brilliant. Okay, so you've heard from us. We agree. Dreadful decision. You've heard from Andy Friend, and that's going to make a lot of headlines this week. Very, very angry about it. You're going to hear from Gerry Thornley a little bit for the overview, and you'll hear a small bit from him in particular on his thoughts on the refereeing. we're parking it for this podcast for now. We'll review it in midweek again one more time, because we want to talk about the game itself beyond that, the stuff that was in Connacht's control. And I want to go positive for a second. All right, Connacht needed a performance tonight. They're trying to fill the Aviva Stadium. They needed a kick. They needed to come down to the team that are in hottest form. They did that, and there was a lot of really good individual performance. Can I pick out a few? Matthew Burke, outstanding. You know, we were watching him do 68 minutes. First time he's ever gone that far into the game because of all the injuries. Holding up that scrum, doing a super job under huge pressure against Archer, and before Archer he was up against Ryan, and he did a great job against him as well. But going through the team there, I thought Heffernan had a great game. I thought the second row boys battled really, really well. Prendergast you've mentioned. Conor Oliver is playing a different level this year. He's gone up a notch and he's been outstanding. And start going through the back line. Blade and Cardi combined well. Cardi was deservedly man of the match. Sammy Arnold superbly well. People will say, oh, Aki's back and Connacht played better. Aki was great, but he wasn't the reason why Connacht were playing better. And can I finish on this? Because I've gone on a big long a monologue here, but there's only two of us for now. Tiernan O'Halloran has had some tough times. We've heard from him there. He had some tough times even in the first game against Cardiff. But it's like Andy Friend and the team said, you know what, this guy started playing rugby for Connacht in 2009. He's played for Ireland. He's done it before. He'll do it again. He's a leader. He's confident. He'll make the odd mistake. Let him breathe through those. He's going to be brilliant. He was virtually flawless tonight. He was so good. Without ever stealing the show as man of the match. I just think there's lots to be positive about. And if I'm not finished, Mac Hansen, outstanding.
Yeah, Hansen brings a certain something, all right. He's still working out, I think, some of the things here. He's got a boot on him as well, which is interesting, but we know he also wants to play fullback. John Porch is very game.
He's everywhere.
Yeah.
I stole your thunder there. You can pick some others out if you...
That all adds up, and you have to talk about those, and they've got to bring that. Whoever those players is selected has to bring that in for next week. I thought Bundy had a decent game. He does bring an intensity that sometimes we lack. He's there and he's right at it. I mean, the Peter O'Mahony situation. Peter O'Mahony was tackled in the air allegedly by Mac Hansen.
It was contact.
It was contact, but Mac Hansen was on his own and Peter O'Mahony had a load of protectors around him. Peter O'Mahony sat down and then lay down, and look, he's a world-class player. He was just... Then he had to have a drink of water, and then Bundy just sort of wandered over and suggested, look, you're fine, I'll help you up and we can get on with the game. And Peter O'Mahony wasn't playing that.
Not fine.
And it did look a little bit as if he was trying maybe to get the referee to look at it again. It's one of those situations. Mac Hansen was disgusted. I don't blame him. If you're going up to compete for that and you make contact, Peter O'Mahony had a gang of people there to protect him. It's just one of those small things, and it didn't cost particularly much. But it was just the Bundy situation, how he handled it. I thought Jack Carty did well as captain a couple of times in the first half, just went at the right time. Referee made a bit of a song and dance about getting him to talk to all his players. Which was a bit...
School teacher type stuff.
Yeah, I just thought that looked a bit silly. And it actually put Munster off their stride because I think they wanted to get on with the game. Just small things like that. It'll be competitive at training this week. They'll be looking to get... everybody's going to want to play in this game on Saturday. But the guys tonight, most of them stood up and had a very decent game. But the inaccuracies we've discussed have cost them a couple of times. And they've, in my view, they got to sort out the restart issue. I think teams now feel it's an opportunity to really get at Connacht. It's a key part of the game. It looks very simple to kick off.
I think it's the biggest takeaway, and I know Andy hadn't looked at it yet, and rightly, that's fine. He can only look at so much, and he was focused in on what frustrated him from the officials. But we've seen it so many times before. That one where the lifters go up and it goes over them, and the winger's standing behind it, and he knocks it on. That was Hansen on that occasion. But it's just miscommunications, it's misfires.
Yeah, it's fascinating one. When Niall Murray seemed to soar up in the air, be held up for...
I gave him socks in the commentary. Nailed it! Oh, he hasn't, because he went and...
Because they went and something happened and
you said they were just way too hesitant.
Yeah, I think they were hesitant getting the ball down and away. At that stage, you've just scored a really nice charge down try and you've popped yourself 5 points in front. And
Still can't believe it.
Just get that ball, get it up the field. Yeah, look, Munster could have gone 60 metres and scored a try. Yeah. But don't invite them back into the 22. And you know what they're going to do. I mean, Simon Zebo could be still waiting for the ball. He was out on the wing. He was unmarked twice. But the ball was only going to stay in those forwards. Couple of penalties. If you're talking about referees, Connacht could have had a card at that time. They had 3 penalties in the space of about 90 seconds.
They should have had a sin bin before that, and then it would.
So
Whatever,
that
swings and roundabouts. But overall, I definitely if you're listening and you're still rabbiting on your head about the referee, don't get mad at me for disagreeing with you or being dismissive, because you're right. The decisions went against Connacht more than Munster. We're not trying to say it was a 50-50 bad day. They definitely went against Connacht more than Munster. It's just we got to get ourselves up to another level. We're not making it about poor us, persecuted complex stuff. Even though I asked Andy Friend about that, but it is something that is believed out there. And you're just wondering, did Ace believe that as well? Did they think there's some? He doesn't really, but he's just frustrated. I wanted to say to you, parallel universe, we've won the game, right? I'll talk about that scrum that led to the Carly try for years if we had won that game, because it was Munster were packed down. We're getting a penalty off these guys. And they held it and drove, and Connacht, as an 8-man unit, would not budge. And our referee was just get that ball out. The Munster backline had no clue what to do with it, because it was never their plan to get the ball. They're so certain sometimes that they're going to get a penalty or something. And when Carberry got the ball, he was slow, ponderous, and Jack Hardy was thank you very much. It was glorious. And that all came about from the scrum.
Absolutely, it came about from the scrum. People want to do away with scrums.
I love scrums. I have none of that.
They're irrelevant to the game, apparently, according to some people, and they waste time and all the rest of it. And again, I'm going to come back and say this on the referee. The first couple of scrums were a bit messy, but he got it sorted out. But the other thing he did was instead of just guessing, he eventually gave a free kick to Munster. But he let a few scrums go, because they are under huge pressure from all the assessors and all the people that talk to them. Get the scrum done.
Yeah. And then at least you just, as you said, 50-50 calls. And maybe then you go with the hometown team because they're known for their scrummaging. But not tonight. Come here. We'll hear from Gerry Thornley a little bit on this, and then we'll finish this up.
Yeah, absolutely.
Delighted to say, friend of the podcast, although it's been a while, Gerry Thornley. How are you?
Good, thanks, Rob. And you?
Really good. Thomond Park looking great tonight. Nice positive atmosphere. Let's start with that. Even at the end, I think the fans are just relieved and happy. I think they think things are going in the right direction down here anyways. And even though they got out of jail, I think it keeps the train on the right tracks.
It's a cracking night. We've all hailed the arrival of the 4 South African sides and, this rebranded United Rugby Championship, but the Interpro is still where the heartbeat of the tournament, and certainly in this island anyway, That's just... I've been at several games, and I've watched a lot of the first 3 rounds, and because it's all on TV, and I've tried to keep abreast of every team, and this is by some distance the best game I've seen so far. And maybe it was helped by the atmosphere as well, as you said, crowd coming back. Big night from Munster, being at the 5th anniversary of Anthony Foley's passing. I thought it was very classily done, low key but nicely done. The standing ovation for a minute, and Connacht's gesture of Jack Carty presenting the Connacht number 8 jersey with Axel in the back as well, classy as well. So I think it was all set fair for a really good game. And Munster didn't play very well, but they weren't let play well to any degree. I thought Connacht were smarter, played really well, better launch plays, better strike moves, and were full value for 6-0 lead. And the game hinged on 2 bad decisions by the officials. And then in the second half, when it looked like Munster were rolling up their sleeves and just going to do a number and bludgeon Connacht into submission, Connacht said, no, you're not, and came back downfield and took a lead. It would have been an epic win for Connacht. It's a pity Jack Carty's conversion hit the post, and it would have been at least a draw. I think a draw would have been ultimately a much fairer result. And I think team really deserved to win. It was probably Connacht.
It's interesting, all right? I want to ask you about the officialdom a little bit in a second, but what I want to ask you first of all is, this is my perspective, and you'll have an interesting perspective on this. 3 times in 2021 now, Connacht have come to Thomond Park, and there's been 1 score between them. I've been coming here for 20 years, and we've taken some big beatings.
Been a graveyard. There was that one-off magnificent win in the Pro
Championship
win year with Bundy and Tiernan, Bundy and Robbie combined. What a night! Yeah, a great performance. And I thought, but then it went back to there's been some heavy beatings since then. So this is a real sign of the progress Connacht have made. That because Munster haven't been rumbling over teams here. They've beaten 2 South African teams pretty convincingly in the end by, maul, scrum, pick and jam a lot of the way in the home wins. And they tried the same on Connacht, and Connacht just wouldn't take it. They weren't, even the scrum, I thought at the beginning, I thought, Connacht have no chance their scrum's going to be that kind of trouble all night. But they actually steadied quite well as the match wore on. And I thought given the resources they have in the front row, I thought that was a plucky effort too. What really impressed me though is that they looked like a really well coached side. I even thought last week in that defeat, they should have been well ahead at half time. Their launch plays and strike plays were so good. If Caelan Blade gets that try and Jack gets that other kick, it's 22-8 or whatever it is at half time. It's a different game. And then again, right from the very first play of the match, the lots of animation formation on the line, the decoy runners, and Jack Carty pops the ball. Was it to Mac Hansen coming in off his win through the middle, links with Bundyaki, links inside with Conor Oliver, who, like Sammy Arnold, was really up for this game, understandably. Clever selections there as well from Friendly. And and I just thought they went toe to toe, like a proper good fight. Just two teams in the middle of the ring going toe to toe.
We want a little bit more consistency out west from this team. Mm-hmm. It's kind of frustrating. Even on restarts, we're going on about it because we watch them every week, and restarts seem to be a problem. I know Andy didn't really want to talk about tonight. He only wanted to talk about one thing, which we're about to get to. But they're just going to have to tidy up the basics. A couple of lineouts go astray at key points. It's the difference between winning down here and being heroic losers down here.
Completely. Like, much and all as he might have be justified in having his grievances about two big decisions that went against the team. Maybe even the last restart. I'm not sure if Finn Mitchell is allowed to go on playing the ball on the deck to prevent it being released. I don't know if some referees don't. But this happens at Thomond Park. When Munster lose with a few minutes to go and the crowd get their dander up, they tend to get most of the decisions. As it happens in a lot of world rugby and a lot of sports, the home teams get the late decisions tend to go their way. But yes, if they get those basic right, they would give themselves such a better chance of, rewarding a really good performance with what would have been a marquee, a sensational victory and ideal timing going into the Aviva Stadium next week against Ulster as well.
Connacht fans are really angry though, and they do feel like the decisions tend to go against them more often than not. I asked Andy Friend that, and he kind of pretty much said, yeah, I know he spoke a bit more to you guys afterwards, which we can read about during the week, but he's not happy. And I think there's a feeling in that group that you're just not getting a fair shake in these Interpros. How do you feel?
This is nothing new. It's been going on for years.
I'll definitely say back in the day, we did not get the fair shake.
I've written about this for years. I remember once writing about penalty counts in derby matches, Interpro derby matches, and they just were ridiculous how they went against Connacht. It's like when you're the Cinderella team of the four, when you're the weakest or the smallest of the four, therefore you almost shouldn't be having a right. You should be beating Munster at Thomond Park. There's something wrong with it or something. And I've seen so many bad decisions over the years, like Romain Poit and Gloucester, that awful end game, Paul Allen, I remember penalising Connacht fullback for taking so long.
The Ospreys, yes. when he took too long to take a 22 drop out.
And he gave him a penalty in front of the post. There's no such law in the rule book. There's no such bloody law in the game. And he comes up with this one. There's so many going back over the years. So yeah, look,
is that still around?
No, I think put it this way, I think Connacht are a little bit paranoid, but I think they're entitled to be.
And he's angry. Is he going to get in trouble over this?
I shouldn't think so. It's very mild what he said, really. I think he's perfectly entitled. Like, I was very interested because I just, I'm watching the game on my own there in the back seat of the press box there. You've got your monitor in front of you, loads of monitors, very well appointed press box here. It's very, really, really good. So you can't miss anything unless you just can't miss things. So I don't know whether it was the TMO and the referee were looking at the offside line, whether Tyrone was in front of Rory Scannell's cross kick or whether it was just the RT coverage were showing it. But either way, they've even got the benefit of the 10-metre line. Rory Scannell is one side of the 10-metre line and Tyrone is the other side in front of the 10-metre line. It was so clearly offside. I thought the yellow card was a joke as well, to be honest.
Incidental contact.
Yeah, I really did. I don't know if that goes the other way. Even the crowd couldn't work up much of it. Like the Thomond Park crowd are very good at getting opposition players yellow carded. They're one of the best around, but even they couldn't really get their dander up about that one.
Is everyone okay?
Definitely. Like, if you're going to disallow Tiernan O'Halloran's try in the opposite corner Mac Hansen's try from Tiernan O'Halloran's very clever, and that was actually, they butchered that opportunity as well. If they'd been on point there, they should have scored a try there. They could easily been 13-0 up in this match, and then a bit like last week, then it's a different game. They've got to take their chances. But if the referees are going to say that pass is marginally forward, which, okay, it's correct, then you've got to get the offside decision right as well for the try. And that's a big moment. Those two decisions were huge momentum shifts on the night. Otherwise, Connacht go in at half-time 6-0 up with 15 men in the pitch instead of 6-7 down and still with 14 men in the pitch.
Let me finish on this, and you're very good to give us your time because you have to get back to Dublin.
I do.
But I feel we're 1 from 4, okay?
Yeah.
But I feel like we're better than that.
Yeah.
Are we though? Because at the same time, when I've said that sentence, I immediately remember we really butchered a chance against Cardiff. We should not have performed like they did against the Dragons. Look, I use the word we a lot. That's our job, following Connacht around the place. There's a lot going right. I think you feel positive about Connacht overall?
You'd have to. Like I said, those launch plays, so much about their game. They've stiffened their defensive maul. It's not quite as poor or as bad as it was last season. Like, that's clearly a work in progress. I think when the new prop arrives, they'll stiffen their scrum a bit as well. I think, they've got good, magnificent options in the back row. I hope Keane Prendergast is going to be okay because he's absolutely a gem. What a great little find you've got there. Little he ain't actually. He's so tough, so hard, and he's just a good all-round footballer. I hope he's all right. We've got tons of options in the back row. I'd like to see more of Papali on the pitch because I think he could be a weapon for Connacht. But it's a tough one, isn't it? 1 defeat and 5, or 1 win and 4, and it could so easily have been 3 wins and 4. You know what I mean? It could, and those are the margins. And I always felt that the United Rugby Championship, the way it's been designed, probably hurt Connacht more than any other team in the competition.
6 of the 18 games are against the top 3 sides in the competition.
Plus 4 against the South African Super Rugby franchise. So 6 of the 18. Like, you look at Glasgow getting a win in Zebra today, and they've got Zebra, Benetton and Edinburgh. They've got 6 games against those 3 opponents. Connacht have got 6 games against Leinster, Munster and Ulster, who are in the top 3 of the table. It clearly ain't fair. It's not a level playing field, and the Irish didn't vote for it, and it's given the Scots a real leg up and the Welsh a real leg up, maybe even the Italians a leg up in getting places into Europe. But it's very disadvantageous to Connacht. At least that rule goes in 2 years. But hey, I don't think they're ones for moaning or complaining, really. You know, I mean, I know Andy got a bit frustrated over those 2 decisions. I can't really blame him. I think he's right to complain about them, and I think they just go again next week at Aviva against Ulster. It's going to be a trying, difficult campaign. I always thought it would be for Connacht, but I think they're going to be competitive all the way through it. And however the cards fall at the end of the season, they fall. But I still think that there'll be something in this season for Connacht. You know what I mean? There'll be something, whether it's a run in Europe or whether it's a run of wins in this competition or something. But there will be, and there'll certainly be some big wins because they played really well tonight, and ultimately they probably deserve to beat Munster and Thomond Park. There's not many teams you can say that about.
Right, to finish, they haven't switched the floodlights off or anything. It's late on a Saturday night. We're not going to get into any nightclubs at this stage, so we'll just drive home and go to bed.
Yep, that's the plan, and then next Saturday we'll all go to the Aviva Stadium and we'll see what happens up there. Great atmosphere in here tonight, I have to say. 17,000 people in.
Can I throw in there positive? Because there's been times in the past when it's been edgy, because Munster fans had just been uncertain about where the direction their team was going, and it's probably just made them a little bit edgier. Just thought there was a lovely positive vibe here. Their team didn't play well, but they're just bloody delighted to see them win. Proud of what they did last week, I think. Emotionally charged because of the 5-year anniversary of the great Anthony Foley. Beautiful moment before the game when Jack Carty presented a number 8 jersey, Connacht jersey with Axel on the back. Just a nice touch. Set the right tone because this game has had an edge to it. It was frankly nasty in a couple of games earlier in the year between the back and forth between players and everything. Well played in a good spirit tonight on the field. Great spirit off the field. Huge Connacht support here. Made plenty of noise as well. Yeah, Ara, it's just positive.
Yeah, it was, and they should be positive. They've got some good young players. Craig Casey looks a really, really good scrum half.
Cracking there.
And so does Gavin Coombs at 8.
Do you know what? I've been looking at Nathan Doak and saying to people, I think Nathan Doak is a cut above. I think they've gone a bit too quick with Casey. I think Doak is better. But then after watching Casey tonight, I'm realising, I don't watch Munster every week. And do you know what? 50-50 there. We might be struggling to find the next out half, but we certainly have a few scrum halves coming through.
Yeah, we certainly do. What are they going to do when Conor Murray comes back? Because I don't think Conor Murray's bring the dynamics that Craig Casey does, because he looks very confident and very, very well switched on. And it was an enjoyable game. It was a bit errors through it. It was a typical hard Interpro. Connacht came out on the wrong side of it. All they can do now is go and fix it for next Saturday in the Aviva.
I think they fixed it that a few more people have just tuned in to buy tickets for the Aviva. I think they have. I think that's a good job in and of itself. I think the long shot of trying to win the Irish Shield is gone now. I don't think that was ever in our mind, but you just want to see Connacht start to develop some momentum ahead of Europe over the next few weeks. Right, we got to get going. Thanks for signing up to the podcast club membership or the executive membership. I wanted to tell you just before we finish this week that there's a whole big special end to the month, as we've promised, Q&A podcast. So if you're a club member and you want to send us in your audio questions, we'll tell you all how to do it in the next podcast. But just get yourself ready, think of your questions, and send us a message on Patreon. Let us know, and we'll set it all up for you. So it's going to be good crack. We'll have that, and for executive members, we're going to have a Zoom chat. William, they're going to see us on camera. Are you ready for this?
Absolutely, Rob.
I'll just have to get the haircut. Well, keep it cut.
Yeah, that's one of the prerogatives. I've had my hair cut, and I won't be cut again till after Christmas.
So yeah, the point is, if you're an executive member, as well as the Q&A podcast that you can chime in with, you get that chance to just, we'll just have an open conversation. We'll cover a few specific topic areas. It's your chance to find out what's happening behind the scenes, and who knows, we might have a few little bits of extra info that we've picked up along the way for you. So yeah, that's all, especially for those of you who've backed us. We really appreciate it. We appreciate it, every single one of you who downloads our podcast. If you want to support us in another way, just share it with your friends. We're on every week, as you know, free of charge here on your favourite podcast provider. But for now, from me, Rob Murphy, and from William Davis, it's goodbye from me.
It's goodbye from me.
Talk to you during the week, folks. Midweek podcast coming up with lots more.
Loose, cut it loose. Break out or nothing changes. Sad and confused. Don't wait until